a little acne and some sports medicine.
I love it. I love that, like, branding. Like, hello, that's what we need. Yeah, and in case any of you are wondering, like, this is not sponsored. I think honestly, birth control should be over the counter without a prescription. We've proven that people can screen for what is safe. And in some states, we have pharmacy prescribed birth control, but not everywhere. And so I believe that access matters. And so mail order birth control, like, yes, like I wish it was around when I was taking the pill. I know I have an IUD, so my birth control comes with me, but for other things, and do you do like the patch and the ring? Did you say that too?
We
You do
can
that?
prescribe anything that you need, the pill, the patch, the ring. We only deliver currently any pill. There's like, 40 plus or even 100 plus different birth control pills.
Mhm.
Patch, we didn't used to deliver the patch, but we just got a deal with Twirla. So if you're a cash
Ooh,
patient, it's
yeah,
$50 per month versus the normal 130,
yeah.
150. And
Well,
then
that's awesome.
insurance, we can deliver the Twirla patch, and the
Yeah,
ring we don't, because the insurance company is evil and they
yeah,
make lose money on it.
yeah. All right. Well, we're just going to jump in to a question for you. Like, this is the question you and I we get all the time. Can I skip my period while using birth control? So this is Slind birth control, but we can talk about it as any birth control. Oh yes, IUD gang. Yes, I do love my IUD. But
IUD,
let's talk about this. Let's talk about pills and periods. And do you need to have one? I think you're like a little passionate about this. I want to hear about it.
yes. So this is, I think, my crusade. My goal is anybody with a uterus should know that you can make hashtag periods optional, that you
Mhm.
don't have to bleed every month, and that it's actually more natural to have fewer periods than we're currently having. So
Mhm.
if you go to pandiahealth.com/periods optional, at the bottom is my TEDx talk, which I'll regurgitate now, on the science and safety of not having to bleed every single month. And so some people are like, that's not natural. And yes,
Right.
we as doctors have done a very good job of drilling it into your head that you must have a period every single month if you're not on medications. Because if you don't
Right.
have a period and you're not on medications, we need to find out why. Like, do you have a tumor in your head? Do you have thyroid? Are you not eating enough? Are you
Mhm.
stressed out of your mind? Are you pregnant? Like, for OB-GYNs,
Yes.
pregnant, 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 right?
Pregnant until proven otherwise.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so it actually is unnatural, the amount
Mhm.
of periods that we're having. Because if you were to fly right now to the Dogon tribe in Mali, Africa, they don't die any earlier than we do. So we're comparing apples to apples. They start their periods at 16. We start our periods at 12. They have 8 periods a year. We have 13 periods a year. But more
Mhm.
importantly, they have 8 babies. So they
Mhm.
spend 72 months pregnant, whereas we only have 2 babies. And then they breastfeed for
Right.
12 months. We breastfeed for 0, 3, and 6. And so
Yes.
they say they're incessantly menstruate. I'm sorry, they're incessantly pregnant or
Mm.
breastfeeding. How
Right. We
many
are
periods
incessantly
do you have?
menstruating.
Yeah, and we're incessantly menstruating. And they have
Yeah.
100 periods in their lives. We
Mhm.
have 350 to 400.
Yeah.
Every time you build that lining, it could mutate and you
Right.
risk endometrial cancer. Every time you pop out an egg, we don't know if it's the popping or the healing, I don't think yet, it risks ovarian cancer. And so if
Yes.
we can decrease the 350 popping down to 100, if we can decrease the building up and down of the uterus and our
Mhm.
hormones going up and down every month, then we can decrease our risk of endometrial cancer. And oddly, it also helps with colorectal cancer, which allows me to bring up that 30% of women, when they have their period, have some sort of gut side effect. And I think we don't talk about it. So you're like, am I
Mhm.
the only one? So we should talk about it.
Yes, the period poops. Yeah, speaking of talking about it, I will mention I do have a book that's out, and this is one of the things I included in there, which is it okay to not have a period while on birth control? And I also have a section on, is it okay to get your periods from mail order birth control companies? And the answer is yes. But I think that we do. We need to be talking about this because we have drilled into people's heads how important periods are. And the question here, does amenorrhea have to be treated? Amenorrhea is a symptom of something. It's not a primary cause, so it depends on what it is. But we know that when you don't cycle normally, not on birth control, you are at risk for things like osteoporosis and endometrial cancer. And yeah, when I tell people like what you say, that we are menstruating more than we ever have in our whole lives, like it's actually not, it's not how it's just not how, you know, if you want to say what is natural, like this is only frequent in the more recent years because we're living longer, we are delaying childbearing, and we're healthier, we're eating more, so we're able to have more periods. So periods are optional. And I think that's super important that people know that, because anytime I post that on TikTok, people are like, what I don't have to have a period? Like, are you kidding me? And then, since we're talking about birth control, another question I get all the time, if you want to answer this one, does stopping your period on birth control make you infertile? Because that's always like the follow-up question. So thank you so much for asking.
It's like you like put her in the audience and fed that question.
I know. I like, see, you don't even have to, because these are real questions, real people. So I love it.
Yeah. No, it is one of the most common questions. And my joke is, yes, birth control makes you infertile when you're on it, because that's why you're taking it. But the minute you come off of it, well, not the minute, but like 3 days after you come off the birth control pill patch ring, it's pretty much out of your system. That's why you bleed. So the way that the birth control pill patch ring works is it keeps your hormones up for 3 weeks, and then it takes you off for that week. And then by day 2 or 3, you bleed. And that's because the hormone washed out of your system to trigger the system. So within 3 days of the pill patch ring, it's out of your system. The only one that lingers is the shot. And they've said, you know, after like a year's worth, it may take 6 to 8 months to wash that out of your body. But the IUD, the implant, I like to say, if I was in the middle of nowhere and I met the hottest guy in the world and we were the last people on earth, and I was like, I have to reproduce with you as soon as possible, I could like reach up there, yank out the IUD, and in 2 weeks after my uterus built up that plush lining, I'd be pregnant again. So what, birth control doesn't make you infertile in the future. It only makes you infertile while you're taking it.
And they've studied this. They've looked at pregnancy rates in people, and by a year, it's all exactly the same. And it doesn't matter if you use it continuously or cyclically. And a great question. God, I really like feel like I'm planting new people in the audience, but I'm not. But this is why we talk about it. Can birth control reduce or increase my risk of ovarian cancer? Birth control decreases your risk of ovarian cancer, because just like Dr. Ian said, you don't have that cyclic break injury to the ovary, which is what happens every time you release a follicle. You have that pop or that burst. So we know that when you take birth control for 5 years or more, it decreases your rate of ovarian cancer by 20%, and that lasts for the rest of your life. And the longer you are on birth control pills, this is the pill because that's what they have the most studies on, but it probably pertains to others, the lower the risk. So a lot of people out there are like, I don't want to take birth control because of cancer risks. Well, it's actually protective for some. So I think that's a really great question. But yeah, no birth control is linked with infertility after using it. And guys, if it was, or if, you know, there's another theory out there that birth control, like there's syndrome has to wash out of you. If it worked that way, then we would just take a pill once a week, right? Like there's a reason when you miss a pill, you could get pregnant because it washes out of you so quickly. Why did I never know the decreased cancer risk? Sarah, because nobody taught, like, I swear to God, because here on Instagram, everybody's like, birth control is going to kill you and then you die. Nobody talks about the benefits, but we do. Anyway, so yeah.
I did the infertile thing. So the infertile thing, I think, is because if you take 10% of women are going to have this thing called polycystic ovarian syndrome. And those women don't pop out eggs. So when they get pregnant, they're going to have a hard time getting pregnant. And so polycystic ovarian syndrome sometimes develops while you're on the birth control pill. So you went on the birth control pill, maybe because your periods were irregular and you had PCOS and no one diagnosed it at the time. And then when you come off, 10% of women are going to have a hard time getting pregnant, but it's not because of the birth control pill patch ring or whatever method it is. It's just because 10% of women have PCOS. So if you had 100 women that were on nothing and you check on them in 20 years and say, hey, can this woman get pregnant? 10% of them would have a hard time because got PCOS. And same thing if you had 100 women on the birth control pill patch ring, you check with them 20 years later, 10% of them will have a hard time getting pregnant. It has nothing to do with medicine. Just 10% of women get PCOS, and those will get pregnant.
Yeah. All right. Great question here. Does skipping your period cause a buildup or a very heavy period once you start back up? Another great question. Like the one that I get all the time.
This is where I get to bring in my uterus prop.
You're nothing without props.
Uterus. And so with your period, it like grows up to like 16 millimeters. I just Googled it, and you're the OB-GYN, so you should know, in thickness. And then, but with the birth control pill, I like to call that like level 10 thickness so that it can, catch an embryo and grow it for 9 months. But on the birth control pill, it only grows up to like a level 2 thickness. So it's not like growing as you're not bleeding and building up of toxins, as some people like to believe. It's just not growing as much. And that's why whatever method you use, the pill patch ring, your periods will get lighter. But same thing with the IUD with hormone or the implant or the shot. It doesn't grow up to level 16 millimeters. It just goes to like 2, 3, a little bit. And if you want to bleed once a month, every 3 months, every 6 months, or never, that withdrawal bleed is totally artificial. Your choice when you want to do it.
Yeah, totally. So the lining of the uterus is kept so thin, there's nothing to build up. Now, you may notice some breakthrough spotting if you do continuous pills or anything continuous, and that's normal and okay, and we have ways that we can deal with that. But I did want to pull up one question. Oh no, not that one. But I did want to answer. So I don't think everybody knows this. Like, why do you think that we have this week where we have a period? And I just want to throw out my fun little fact that when birth control pill was invented in the 1960s, one of the guys who invented it, he was hoping that the Catholic Church would be more likely to accept it if it seemed more natural. And natural meant having a period every month. So this placebo week was made up and inserted to seem natural in the hopes of getting the Catholic Church to okay the birth control. And now, yes, they didn't. And 90% of Catholics still use birth control, but whatever. But it's artificial. And it's also nice because it helps people feel like, well, if I bleed, then I know I'm not pregnant. Because I know we get a lot of questions of that. If I bleed when I'm on birth control, how do I know I'm not pregnant? If you have a withdrawal bleed, you're almost certainly not pregnant. There's always the one crazy case. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Have you like encountered people who are like, nobody ever told me that's why we had a withdrawal bleed? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And yes, it's true for the patch too. It's true for all these like hormonal cyclic that you can also use continuous. So pill, patch, and vaginal ring. Yeah.
No, I like to cite, it's Malcolm Gladwell wrote an article called Dr. John Rock's Error. Yep. And Dr. John Rock was the OB-GYN, devout Catholic, was an everyday 7 a.m. Catholic, not a once a week Catholic, but every day. And he had 2 co-founders that were PhDs. And they're like, why are you making women bleed every month? It could be every 3 months. It could be every 6 months. And I can guarantee you, had somebody been with a uterus on that team, or if I'd been on the team, I would have been like, no. Let women choose how often they want to bleed. No. Do not force them to bleed every single month. But because Dr. Rock won that argument against his 2 co-founders, every method since has had a bleed every month. And it's very patriarchal to be
totally.
Women can't handle it if they don't bleed every month.
And it's okay if you like your period and you want to, like, by all means, but it's about like being able to have that choice. Like,
yes.
And so these companies come out and they're like, well, we're a continuous pill and they cost lots of money when you could have done it with any pill. So, but let's back this up because Sarah just asked, why can't people do continuous use for the patch and the ring? Dr. Ian, would you like to blow her mind?
So you can totally do with the ring. I love the ring in that it has 35 days worth of medication, and every month has less than 35 days. So you could change it the first of every month or whatever your birthday is of every month. But certainly, different uteri bearing people are different. So if you have breakthrough bleeding, if you keep it greater than 28 days, then you could change it every 28 days. So that's for the standard ring. The Anovera is a 1-year ring. And once that came out, I was like, that's going to destroy the IUD. But being a adolescent medicine specialist, we generally feel in adolescent medicine, but also peds adolescent gyne and peds endocrinology at Stanford, that you should, if you're under the age of 30, you should be on at least 30 micrograms of estrogen. So when Anovera came out, I was like, this sounds amazing. Nobody needs it. Like, because I'm not great. I can't do the IUD. I need to learn and do it well. But I could just throw up the Anovera and leave it there for a year. However, it only has 13 micrograms of estrogen. So I don't recommend it unless you're 30 years or older, or you're a heavier person that already has good bone density, because we need the 30 micrograms to make your bones strong until you're 30. And then after that, it's all downhill. And then the patch, you can continuously cycle it, but in general, we say no more than 12 weeks because the estrogen builds up and we don't want you to have a blood clot. So every 12 weeks, you have to bleed one. You just come off for a week and that'll clean things out and then you can start again.
But You don't have to have a period every month, which I think is just, and I feel like that's the take home message here.
Mantra.
Yeah. So let's see what other questions. There's a bunch of questions here. Dun, da, da. Do iron pills make the birth control less effective? No, they do not. Let's see here. Got some IUD questions. Ooh, this one. I love this one. Is it necessary to use birth control if you're not sexually active? So, what are some reasons other than birth control do you find that you are prescribing birth control? Which is
Yeah.
kind of a word salad there, but I think you know what I mean.
Yes. So I think, that we should change it from OCP, which is oral contraceptive pill, to EPP, estrogen progesterone pill. So it's just hormonal treatment. And no longer, unfortunately, our society has a stigma for birth control. 70% of the women that use the birth control pill patch ring use it for non-birth control purposes as well. So polycystic ovarian syndrome, those women, their lining is building up. And unless you throw some progesterone at it, it increases their risk of endometrial cancer.
Yeah.
Acne, I used to get one zit every single month. I called it the North Star. It was giant. It was painful. It migrated from here to here to here. It's just disgusting. And once I went on the birth control pill, because there wasn't the up and down, it was just smooth. It went away. And then actually they've shown with continuous cycling, but also just with a stable hormonal level, it's good for diabetes, good for seizures, good for asthma, not to treat them, but just those conditions benefit from having a stable hormonal level. And also if you have PMS, and we
the
get
question
rid of,
literally just came up, will it help PMS in the that's hilarious.
if you have PMS and you get rid of the M, which is menstruation, then you don't have PMS, you don't have PMDD. And then it can also be used for endometriosis, but my understanding is the best treatment now is progesterone only. Is that right for endometriosis?
Well, there's a lot of controversy about that. I mean, some people say that we shouldn't even be doing that at all and that we should go straight to surgery. I think it's super important that regardless, you make an individualized plan. But the idea that if you're not cycling, then hopefully it's making it better. And it can be in a combination pill or progesterone only. Yeah. So there's lots of reasons for what we call birth control. And like you said, there's that stigma attached with it, which is why only recently under the Affordable Health Care Act was it even attempted to be covered in most insurance plans. It's very much a patriarchal thing. Some other things that we use it for, like you said, so if you've got a family history of ovarian cancer, ovarian cancer protection, even for certain types of histories of certain preventive other cancers, like colon cancer, endometrial cancer. Somebody earlier said, what about depression? And the thing about birth control is that for some people, it can make depression better, especially if your depression is linked to your heavy periods and to the fatigue and you're bleeding so much. Like we use it to treat heavy periods for people who otherwise might need like blood transfusions every month. And for others, it can make their depression potentially worse. And for others, it's exactly the same, especially if the pregnancy anxiety is gone. So it's not one of those things that it's a one size fits all. Yes, it will make this or that, but I do think it's important to pay attention to that. But yeah, we use it.
Two other things I wanted to bring up. Number one, the number one cause of missed school and work under the age of 25 is painful, horrible, bloody periods. So if you are missing school or work, please see your doctor and we have treatment. You don't have to suffer. You don't have to miss school. And then the flip side is tiger mom. So I am a tiger mom. And the example I give is pre-med, MIT, biochem final, all of a sudden, bleh, and I'm like, do I run to the bathroom or do I finish the exam, right? And in pre-med, you finish the exam.
Yeah.
But I look to my left, I look to my right, two people without uteri, and they're like, boop, 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 boop. Not a care in the world. So I have two daughters, and I'm giving them the option of making #periods optional. So that they won't be randomly hit by blood for the SAT. They won't be randomly hit by the blood during finals, during their band, marching band, tennis, sport, debate, anything.
Yeah, for me, it was when I was a resident. So I was on birth control pills, cyclic, so a period every month. And then when I started working night shift, and I couldn't remember, but then also when I started doing 12-hour gynecology cases, and you can't y'all, I mean, medicine can be kind of brutal. If you like are in a critical part of a surgery, you can't scrub out because you're bleeding through your scrubs. You just deal with it. And I did not like that. And so a week later, I got an IUD inserted and I looked back, but I could have also done continuous pills or done other things. So I think that is super important to understand that you don't have to. You kind of touched on this, but again, another reason, and this is why some people miss work in school. Why do my guts produce more gas when I'm on my period? Yes, period poops are real.
I mean, like, again, 30% of women that are on the period have diarrhea or constipation. And that's why I don't like having my period. I'm one of that 30%. And so now I've got blood and diarrhea. It's not okay.
Yeah. And so again, you don't have to suffer. And I don't want the message to be from here tonight, like periods are terrible and everyone should get away and nobody should deal with it. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is choice is wonderful. And you can't make a truly informed choice until you actually have all the information. So, I mean, again, adults who are like, nobody ever told me I didn't have to have a period, or nobody told me I could do this or that. And I just think it's great that we're putting that out there and then taking away the barriers. So being able to get it over, mail order pharmacies. Can you explain again how you screen? Because a lot of people say, what about blood pressure? What about blood clot risk? Like, how do you figure out if somebody's a safe candidate for like a mail order prescription?
So the protocol that we use at Pandia Health has been approved by the Medical Board of California, the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology of California, and the Pharmacy Board of California for pharmacists to prescribe birth control. And then we added a layer of doctor. And at Pandia Health, because we're the only doctor CEO-led company, I've taken the Hippocratic Oath. Do no harm. We will always tell you what's best for your health, even if it doesn't benefit our bottom line. So IUD and implant crush the pill patch ring. But if you're not ready for those, we're here for you. And so we asked 20 questions that, same 20 questions I'd ask you if you came into my office. Do you have
Actually, no, not true, because they've studied it, and these standardized things, either self-administered or through like websites, they're better than sometimes what we ask in the office, because I feel like we don't always follow that algorithm. So I think that it's actually sometimes better. So anyway, go on.
Pills that shouldn't have been on combination pills. We put it in the computer. And so for our doctors, we highlight the questions. Green, go ahead, write the prescription. Yellow, you better ask some follow-up questions. Red, you cannot write normal birth control pills. You may be able to write progesterone. And then we ask for a blood pressure. Other people go like, this is the normal blood pressure. Is yours normal or not? Ask you for the number, and then we check it, make sure it's normal or not. And so you can either call up your doctor and be like, what was my blood pressure last time? And give us that. Or you can go to a pharmacy or the grocery store.
Yeah, you can do it anywhere, you guys. You do not, there is nothing magical about us taking it in our office. Yeah. It's just not. So yeah, I think that we are very smart people. We can figure out how to get our blood pressure. Sure.
Well, how we give is, I love the fire station. So you can visit the hot firemen, just like,
I need my blood pressure checked. Why are you here again? You were just here yesterday. I just want to be safe. I might have to start doing it.
And something about that uniform.
See, this is then why you need the birth control. So it all comes full circle. But the bottom line is that it's not some sketchy person who's dispensing it from their basement. You guys are regulated. You have protocols that you have to follow. You are, it's just like getting it at the office without the hassle of the office. And never just do all these mail order things replace everything in life. But what we've seen in the pandemic is that birth control access was restricted, that it's companies like this that are helping us stay in control. And when we're in the United States, where it's really hard, you can't get it over the counter like you can in other places, this fills a gap. So I think that it's great. And I think can you tell us where to find you so we can wrap up and everybody can know where to find Pandia Health? And again, this is not sponsored. I don't want you to think I'm getting paid for this. I just think it's important. We're all informed.
Doctors talking about making periods optional and increasing access, preventing unplanned pregnancy, preventing ovarian, endometrial, colorectal cancer, decreasing landfill. That was the other one. We use 10,000 products. If you're not using the reusable advanced Diva cup or whatever cup of your choice, panties, etc., you get the idea. can find us at pandiahealth.com, and Pandia is the Greek goddess of healing, light, full moon. But another way to remember the spelling is Pan is every, Dia is day. So we got you covered every day. Pandia.
Oh, I love it. Love it. I didn't think of that. So yeah, and so it's Pandia at Pandia Health, right, on Instagram and TikTok, which is where we tried to start out. But hey, we're flexible. We move. So yeah. Well, thank you so much. This was super fun. And as somebody who I tell people that outside of trying to conceive, I haven't had a period since like the Obama administration. Like I don't miss it. It's so great.
The past 12 years, because that was my last kid. And
Yeah.
I take my birth control every day.
Mhm.
No periods for me, for when I
Yeah.
forget.
Yeah. All right. Well, you have a great night. Thank you to everybody who came in here, asked wonderful questions. There were no audience plans, like literally just wonderful, fantastic questions. And everybody have a good night. Stay safe. Stay protected. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.